Hello everyone, welcome back to Pixel Village and I am Radha Krishnan. Well, you heard about DJI? Well, in fact, it's better to ask who has not heard about DJI, right? Well, they are undoubtedly the most innovative technology company in the field of cinematography and filmmaking. Period. Well, they are the ones who are singularly responsible for teaching the whole world to fly drones, right? In fact, to an extent that DJI has become a generic term for drones. They also got us hooked on to handheld 3-axis gimbals. Well, the most recent and the most path-breaking introduction of any products in cinematography world has been the DJI Ronin 4D. In fact, they have kind of mastered this art of surprising the whole world of creators. And every time they drop a new product, well, the world stops and start taking notice. Surprise, surprise, DJI is ready to drop another set of new products. Wow, they've actually dropped it into our studio. The all-new DJI Transmission Combo, a video transmitter which has some amazing features, probably the first of its kind in the video transmission world. So, without wasting any more time, let's get started. A nice hard case. Let me open this for you, and there you go. Very, very interesting product. Well, obviously, DJI makes some of the finest looking products in the world, in the photography world for sure. So this is a transmitter and a receiver combo. Now this has some very, very amazing, unique capabilities, which is what we will explain. So this video can get a little longer, so stay with us, and we're going to be explaining about the build quality, the features. We're going to see how it is set up and what are the advantages of using the transmission combo. So in this box, we have this amazing transmitter. It looks like this. Now you've seen something very similar in the 4D, right? So what they have done is they always had a transmitter and the receiver in their ecosystem. All their drones had a video transmitter, and they also had a receiver. Now, over a period of time, they actually bettered that technology. They created their own processors. Now, that processor went through many iterations, improvement, upgradation from version 1 to 2. Now they have the 3, which you saw in the 4D. It's called the O3 Pro. Now that's exactly what they are using here as well. Another interesting advantage of using any DJI products, they are compatible with most of their other products in the ecosystem, and most of the time they make it sure that they are backward compatible to their previous system. So there is no surprise here. This particular device, the transmitter, the video transmitter receiver, is compatible with their Ronin system, the R and the RS, definitely not the RSC, because RSC is meant for mirrorless cameras. They're supposed to be lighter. This is not a light transmitter, so it will not work with the RSC2, but it will work with the Ronin or the RS, the whole series. So this is the latest, absolutely the latest transmitter. The box also comes with their high bright, in fact 1500 nits bright, the handheld monitor unit from the 4D. The only difference is that now it is also a controller. I'll tell you how. This is the O3 Pro receiver. It is also a monitor. So along with this comes a set of batteries, a set of cables, and of course some battery adapters as well. Well, DJI also airdropped a couple of other goodies to us. They also airdropped the Ronin 4D hand grips combo. I'll talk about it because this can be integrated to this system. This is the remote monitor expansion plate. This is an accessory. All these are accessories which you need to buy separately, and a transmission high gain antenna. Well, we got two sets, one for the transmitter and the other for the receiver. So what I'm going to do is to put all these things together and come back and explain to you in detail. As you can see, the goodies are out of the box. What I'm holding is the transmitter and this is the receiver. Well, I have already attached the 4D hand grips, which is the hand control, onto the receiver already. Well, I have few grips, few adapters, and also a battery charger and the battery here. Well, let's start with the transmitter. It's very well made. It's all metal. It's likely to generate a lot of heat. So there's a heat sink on top and it's very well made. Great design. And you can power the transmitter in more than one way, okay? You can power it using the battery. This is the battery that comes along with it. The DJI's own battery comes with a battery charge level indicator. With the help of an adapter, which is again supplied along with it, you can attach this battery on the transmitter. And in case if you are using or you want to use the commonly available NP-F series batteries, then of course you have another adapter plate which is which actually comes along. Instead of this adapter plate, you use this one. Okay. Now, in case if you are using the transmitter along with the gimbal, well, the objective then will be to reduce the weight as much as possible, in which case you will remove this adapter plate and use one of these cables. There are three cables which are given along with it, depending upon the type of gimbal that you're using, whether it is the R series or the RS series. You can use these cables along with the transmitter to power and also control. We'll come to that slightly later, but unfortunately we don't have any of these R or RS series gimbals in the studio, so showing you demonstration of how you control the gimbal or the camera may not be possible in this video. However, we'll try and do it on a later series. So that's about the power, and now let's take a closer look at the transmitter. Okay, so these are the connectivities on one side. The first one is the DC in, of course, in case if you're using an external power to power this transmitter. I told you you have three cables available. This is the power input. Then you have the HDMI in. Obviously, that's where your video signal will come in. And of course, you have a USB 3 port below it. and you have an SDI in and an SDI out. In case if you're using a 3G SDI as your source input, you can use them, and you can also locally monitor using the SDI out. Both the inputs are composite, so you can get the audio and the video along with it. The input of the HDMI will be 42 to 10-bit, and the SDI will be 444, which means you can actually connect this to a professional camera. The output from the transmitter will be 42 to 10-bit, but at a more compressed data throughput rate in order to reduce the latency, to minimize the latency. We'll come to that again later. That's about the connectivity. Of course, these are your antennas. You can remove them and fit them. They also have given 2 extra antennas in the box, in case if you happen to damage one or misplace one, which is quite possible in the field. And below are 2 connectors, 2 1/4 and 1 1/4, in case if you want to mount this on a different way. Now, if you're using the transmitter with a gimbal, of course, you can mount this on the gimbal using the adapter plate cum quick release plate, which is supplied along with your R and the RS series gimbals. Will allow you to mount the transmitter using this particular plate. This will act like a quick release plate. And of course, onto this side are the controls. You have the on-off control, you have a screen, and you have the control dial here. So a nice, a very compact system. It's got a nice vent and a great heat sink all around. And of course, you also have a power indicator. So all in all, a very well made, nice, compact system. So I'm going to keep this aside. Also, these 3 cables that I finished talking about, and this is the SDI cable. You want to connect the SDI camera onto this device. This is your SDI input cable. And of course, it also has a USB 3 to regular USB cable, primarily used for firmware upgrade. So please always remember to keep this in the box itself. Okay, I also have finished talking about this adapter plate, so I'm going to keep this also out of my way. Battery is going to be out of my way. I've also spoken about this battery adapter plate. I'm going to keep that also out of my way. Okay. The next one that I want to talk about is the battery charger. It comes with a twin bay battery charger with indicators. But a word of caution, it charges the battery sequentially. It'll wait for one to get completely charged before it starts charging the second one. Okay, so that's something to remember. So that's out of the way as well. Now comes to this big mother of all controls. Like I told you, this is the same high bright monitor which comes along with the 4D. It uses the same O3 Pro receiver technology with this. And of course, this is the same control that you've seen with your 4D, which the cameraman or the operator used while holding the 4D device. And of course, you have the joystick, the control here, you have the trigger, you have all the other controls, and you have the focus control. Everything is in your hand itself. And of course, you also remember seeing the tilt control, correct? To suit the position of the monitor. There is also tilt control available on both hand controls. So that's very interesting. Again, let me keep this guy. It's got a quick release available. So you can slide it out. It comes out carefully, and you can now take a look at this particular. Before that, it also is being now powered by the same battery, the DJI battery. In case if you want to power this with, let's say, the NPF series, of course, you have the adapter plate available too. But surprisingly, there is no default built-in power supply, source supply in here. You have to actually buy an extension, a port extension, which comes as an accessory. This plate comes off, this goes in here, and then you get an HDMI out, an SDI out, and of course a power in. This, I think, is a definite must-have for the user because very unlike the transmitter, this one is likely to be in front of the DOP or the focus puller or let's say the director in a little more convenient, comfortable place inside a tent, a van or somewhere. You are likely to get power available. So instead of depending on a battery, you can actually use an external power source for this. So that's something that definitely you must get as an accessory for sure. Of course, the monitor comes with the cage. The cage has lots of expansion joints in case if you want to add any more devices like an external recorder, anything that you want to have a microphone, you want to shout out to people and you want to put a microphone here, whatever, all that is available. And you can also mount this on a stand comfortably. I mean, usually it'll be held in your hand. Of course, you have 4 receiver antennas, very compact as well. And on the other side, all you have is a power switch. Now let's take a look at the connectivity, which is default connectivity. You have a headphone, correct? Because the audio comes in through, so you can hear. There is an SDI slot here. So in case if you are using it along with, let's say, the 4D or a compatible gimbal, you can actually record a proxy into the card so that you don't have to get something from the camera, wait for the cameraman or the assistant to run to you or to run to the the spot editor who's there. He can actually pull out the proxy from here and start editing straight away. So you have an HDMI out here as well, okay? But this is limited to a second monitor. So whatever you see here will be mirrored to the second monitor. But however, if you take an output from this extension, well, you can actually record, in case if you want to record the footage outside onto like an external monitor for reference. Mind you, they are of great quality. So 42210 bit will be the output. Okay, 42210 bit. It will give you full HD up to 60. Okay, in case if you are working with the 4D, but if you are working with any other camera, you are definitely guaranteed up to 30 for sure. So in case if you want to record that remotely at 422, I remember telling you about the bit rate. So the transmission happens at a much compressed bit rate at about 50 Mbps. So the quality may not be nothing that you may want to write home about, but nevertheless, you have it. And 50 Mbps 422 10 bit is good quality. Well, you can also use this USB out to stream directly in case if that's what you want to do. So that's another additional very interesting feature. Okay, so this side of course has the on-off button and everything is very ergonomically placed in the device. So what I'm going to now do is to connect this here very comfortably and it locks in, and use this lever to lock it in place. Everything is nicely placed. Now when you start out with the device for the first time, right out of the box, you will have to register, activate the device, going to DJI's online. So you need to download the DJI Assistant 2. Okay, using that you can register your device online, also upgrade or update your firmware. So that is the first thing that you have to do. Subsequently, you need to pair the transmitter with the receiver. I have already done the activation online and the device is activated. Now I have attached the battery. Along with the battery, It is not very light, but it's very well balanced. That's what is interesting about it. It's nicely balanced. Even in a horizontal position or in vertical position, it's nicely balanced. To switch it on, very simple. Press this once, and immediately you can hear the fan going. Okay, it runs the software and it takes a few seconds before it actually comes alive. There you go. So you're alive. The indicators are very clearly marked. Now I don't have a camera signal going in, so because of which the camera, the icon on the screen is red now. Interestingly, it also senses the power of the battery of the camera. So if you're connected to a camera with full power, this will turn green, and when the camera actually loses the battery power, they start going red. So that's an interesting warning. So this is transmitter. I have switched on the transmitter. Now let's switch on the receiver. Again, one light touch. You don't have to keep it pressed. One light touch and it comes alive. You can actually hear the fan going. Voila, it's come on, and it's a very clean dial. Okay, of course we will show you with a camera connected to it, but let me first explain the functions. You see this dot on the left bottom. Okay, click on that. You will get all your general settings and your connection settings. On the right hand side bottom, you will get all your controls like the waveform, your force color, your peak focus, etc. And from the top, you will get the channel controls, the transmission controls. And there are a whole lots of other small, this is the time code. You have the audio control because you have a headphone here. You also have the battery indicators. It also says that your left and right, this icon here also tells you that your left and right controls are connected, and these top connections are about the camera. Now, that's another interesting thing this guy does. So the biggest difference of the DJI Transmission, the Combo, from the other video transmitter is that this is integrated. You can not only monitor the video signal, you can also control the remote device. Correct? You can, if you are connected to, let's say, a gimbal like the R series or the RS series. Okay, I told you all DJI products are backward compatible. This product too is backward compatible. So you can actually control the gimbal. You can using this. So you will have all the mimic controls. For example, if you're working with R or the RS, you can, with limited number of people, you can achieve or you can accomplish a lot of things with it. And hold on, I'm not done yet. In case if you use the brand new Ronin RS3 Pro, which got launched along with this, and if you happen to use a Sony camera on that gimbal, well then, you can not only control the gimbal, you can also control the camera menu. I mean, you can go into the menu. You can in fact mirror the menu onto the screen and control it, make changes inside. Well, in the other cases, you will definitely get access to shutter speed, aperture, focus controls and stuff. But in that combination, in case we are using the RS3 Pro with a Sony 7 series cameras, the menu gets mirrored onto the screen in case if you want to. So what is left to be seen is we need to connect a camera to the transmitter. Link the device and go through the menus and setups and talk a little more about it before we conclude. So this is a basic setup that I have done. Here is our camera, the Panasonic Lumix S5, connected to the transmitter using an HDMI cable. of course, the receiver is here, and the receiver, well, I have added an extension, the HDMI, SDI, and the power extension here. I've taken an HDMI loop out onto my recorder. This is one of the oldest recorder that I have in the studio, the original Atomos Ninja, and I'm going to record for reference. You know, just in case, I'm going to record a full HD video as well onto this. Now, as you can see, I've already linked my video through the transmitter is already here. It is crisp. The most important feature of this device is its range. Now the transmitter and the receiver is so close, not even a feet away, but it can go up to 6 kilometers. Now digest that, 6 kilometers. So you might also require this high gain antenna, which is sold as an accessory. I will seriously recommend that people who are planning to use it for a long range video transmission get this. And now this is available for both the transmitter and the receiver. And if you get into this difficult terrain, if you have high difference between the transmitter and the receiver, distance is very long, then I definitely recommend the high gain antenna. Like I told you, it's an accessory, it's an additional purchase. Line in sight is what is recommended for video transmission. Of course, you also get the audio along with it. And it's brilliant. I mean, this monitor, this is a high bright monitor because this monitor is supposed to be used outdoor. Remember, the 4D is a 4-axis stabilization device. So you are supposed to be using it in all possible conditions, right? So this monitor is straight from that device, and it is extremely bright and sharp and clean, crisp. And of course, I'm recording it here as well. Let's look at the menu items. So on the left-hand side bottom corner, you have 3 dots. Press on that and it will open up the connection general setting menu for you. Now, the receiver can be switched between control mode and broadcast mode. Broadcast mode is if you are connecting this to, let's say, a transmitter from the 4D, then it will become broadcast mode. It can also connect to another control monitor. One transmitter can send out signals to 2, so that connection can be controlled here. So we don't have a second one, so the second one is not actually kind of highlighted. Only the control monitor A, which is this one, is highlighted. If you want to relink to control monitor, you need to press this. It'll ask you, it'll temporarily disconnect it, and then it'll connect it back again. And if you want to switch to control monitor B, and it'll say it'll disconnect from here and connect it there. Of course, you have the audio control here, you have the time code here. In case if you are recording in the SD card here, then the time code will get activated. And battery indication is here. Now, this is the real core technology, the frequency selection method. You can allow the system to automatically select between the best channels. So it kind of keep checking between 5.1 to 5.2 to 5.8 megahertz for the connecting frequency. It'll automatically select the strongest channel between 5.1 and 5.8, and also the DFS channel. DFS is the legal civilian channel, so you don't require any special permission to kind of transmit through that channel. So this device will use that channel, make sure that it locks onto the most stable one, and will give you the video signal and the audio signal with minimum latency. There are a couple of things that helps the minimum latency. First is the compressed video rate. So it compresses the bit rate to 50 megabytes. So that really allows the data transmission like very fast. So let's take a look at how the latency, how much is the delay, so to speak. So I'm going to kind of snap my finger, and this camera here is going to check. So it'll kind of, the difference will be very obvious. So I'm going to, let me see. Okay. Yep. There is a very, very minute delay. So they say it is 0.68 microseconds, which is actually not much. You can actually use this rotor to follow focus with it, so you will not really miss the action. If you're using a professional camera setup, and if you're using a remote focus control device, well, you can use this to control your focus, track your focus, and also move your camera, because the latency is minuscule. On the right hand side bottom, there is an icon here. In here, you can actually control the focus meter, correct? And LiDAR waveform. It basically is a focus control, which DJI is using. It'll appear here if you're using it along with a compatible device. And also you can get zebra stripes. You know what zebra stripes are used for? To check your overexposure. And the overexposure level can be controlled here as well. Not the exposure, your warning. You know if the exposure is going out, so you can use your camera controls, to control the exposure using the buttons here. So there is an exposure control here. You can use that to control your exposure, provided the camera is hooked on to a gimbal which interacts with the system, which are your R and the RS system, the RS3 Pro for sure. Then you have the waveform. Basically, waveform is the ideal way to judge your exposure. Currently, I have a decent exposure, except from probably my forehead. A little bit of my forehead is getting burned a little. And then also peak focus. Now, peak focus is basically a visual, kind of a representation of the area of focus. Now here, if you look at it, I can even control the intensity of that by adding, more color. So I have picked red as the color. Of course, it will not get recorded, neither into the SD card nor onto that recorder. It will not get recorded. It's just an overlay, and I can even change that color. I can change that color from between blue, green, and red. Then you have the aperture control, basically to check how much of that color is going to kind of come through. That's it. And this one is your, let me deactivate the focus peaking control. And of course, you can also have an LUT. In case if you are shooting on, let's say, a log format, that's exactly when you use the LUT in order for your client or your director going bonkers, looking at, a completely washed out kind of an image. You can add LUTs over your, the transmitted image. So you can pick the LUT, the LUT of your choice, and you can see the image through it. So these are the three basic control. The indicators are power indicators. Of course, the next icon shows that your handle controls are installed, and also on this side is your camera control. Control your camera from here, your aperture from here, and the shutter speed from here. And all these can be done only if you are connecting it through a compatible gimbal. Currently, this transmitter through the HDMI cable cannot do that, but those controls are available right in front of you. So you don't need to really run to the camera every time. Imagine the camera is mounted on a jib arm or on a position in the shot where you cannot easily access it. Of course, you can. well, you use a remote viewing only in such situations, right? I mean, if the camera is mounted onto a car which is moving in front of you, for example, you can use your all these controls to control your camera. And yeah, so this is your channels. So this is basically how you use this device. Let me stop recording here. It's for me, I've thoroughly enjoyed using this device. All I have to do is to wait for DJI to send me a compatible gimbal, mount a camera onto it, preferably a Sony, and go out on a shoot and test all those other promises like distance, remote control, remote menu control features and all that, and also record some external video onto some external recorder. That's when the entire review will be complete. But currently I am immensely impressed by the way this whole system is thought about. This is actually a repurposing of the 4D for people who cannot really afford everything that the 4D was offering, which I think was clever. It's a brilliant decision so that people like me, well, I cannot definitely afford an $11,000 camera gimbal kind of a device like 4D for sure, but they have taken out the best of that 4D device. You can buy a gimbal of your own. You already have a camera, put it all together. It definitely will not have the 4D, I mean the 4-axis gimbal stabilization. You will have only a 3-axis gimbal stabilization, so you will miss that one. But all other controls like remote viewing, recording, controlling, all will be available at a much better price. Now, as we speak, I don't know what this price is. Well, I am actually feeling extremely delighted that we received this device prior to the international launch, and we thank DJI for trusting us with this device, and that's a big one for Pixel Viilage. So I don't know what the price is. I'll definitely add that. I mean, by now you will all know what the international prices are. I'll add a link in the description with all possible details that I can gather, and I'll keep updating it when it becomes available in India with prices and purchase locations, etc. But for the time being, I'm going to hold on to it and wait for that international launch. Well, like I told you, we are recording this prior to the international launch so that I can publish this video on the day of the event, and I am really excited. Well, I'm sure you too are. So, well, that's a wrap at Pixel Viilage today. Like I said, I'll try and get hold of a compatible gimbal and a camera, and I'll demonstrate this to you in a field test kind of a scenario. If you are interested in learning photography, please head over to pixelviilage.com. We have a set of fantastic photography teachers there taking classes for you. They're all recorded sessions. You can watch the bouquet of offering, and if you like it, you can subscribe.